Okay, coming up now.
Can we also so let me know when it is
Yes,
fully
yes,
available. Okay,
yes.
awesome. All right, so let me close the terminal and start all over again. Okay, so this is my command prompt. In case you don't have it, you want to your target by the way mine is, you can just do a quick search. So your system will actually auto recommend it. So you click on it. So now by default it will be on your that is on your user folder, your system user folder. That is the user that is currently logging into your system. So I said my preference is to always create my own project in a desktop folder so that I can always be seeing it. So because of that, I will see I'll change my directory to desktop. So you can put your own wherever you like. I mean you have the choice is yours. Okay, so the command to change directory, that is literally folder, right? If you want to change the folder you want to save your project on, so the command is cd, then the folder name, mine is desktop, so I'll just write des, I'll press on my tab key so it will complete it for me, then I'll hit enter. So now as you can see I'm currently on my desktop directory right now. So then now getting to the real deal, for you to create Flutter app using command prompts. So the command goes as thus: Flutter creates. Then this you must write these two commands. Then next is the name of the application you want to build. So can someone recommend name for us? I mean, I don't actually have any name in my head right now. So what name do you suggest we should give our very first app? All yes, you can drop your suggestion on the chat section, on the chatting section. I'm just feeding the messages, so you know. Mr. Oluwatosin, I see what you texted. Okay, dive up, awesome. I think that is a very cool name. So dive up do justice to this thing. So let's just go with it.
Sorry to cut you. Somebody has a question.
uh,
Steven has his hand raised.
okay,
Steven, you can go ahead. Except there's a mistake.
okay.
Let's
So
just continue.
that is we are waiting for the person to.
Yeah. The person did
Okay,
not say
who
anything.
is the
So
person?
Thelma has a question.
Oh,
Thelma, please
okay,
go
okay,
ahead.
okay. Tell you can unmute yourself and talk.
Okay, I wanted to change my directory and it's not happening. It's saying the system cannot find the path specified.
Cannot find what?
The path specified.
Hello. Okay. How do you go about it? It is cd then space then you write the name. Okay. I mean the issue you have could be the way you spell the directory. That part that is said is not identified. Actually all those directories they contribute with our system. So desktop is spelled. Let me go back to my own. You see, my desktop is spelled with capital letter D, not small letter. So that is how window define it, and I must follow their own specification. So I can't change it to a small letter unless I have a folder created on my desktop that I want to use specifically. If it is all this all this kind of the pre-built one, so you have to follow their setting. Their way. Okay, so where exactly were you trying to create your own folder at? Is it on
I was just
desktop
following
or
exactly.
documents
I was
or
trying to create on desktop, and I spelled it with a capital letter, like exactly as you did. But it's still saying the system cannot find the path specified.
Okay. Okay. Share a screenshot of the error you are having. That is a screenshot of the problem you are facing. So let's look at it together. I think there is someone else that was ready. Okay. Stephen, you can unmute yourself.
Yeah, good evening. Can you hear me, please?
Yes. Yes. Very well.
Thank you. I don't know. At the time you were explaining, I mean, my network was having issue. This thing you are doing, I mean, the command prompt you are trying to do. I don't know if it's something I've done before, but I would like to ask, what are we trying to achieve while doing this command prompt? Because basically, I actually use a YouTube video I watched a YouTube video and I was going through some of this steps. But I don't know if so that I wouldn't have to do this thing 2 times. That's what I'm asking. What are we trying to achieve while doing this? I know you have said that from.
All right. So can we all see my screen?
Yes, sir, we can.
Oh, all right. All right. So now so let's go back to our command prompt. Let's terminate everything. I think did we all get it to this point before I got disconnected the other time?
No.
Anyway, we are gonna take it again, like take it once more. So let me just close it and start another one. So for those of you that had issue regarding to this, so this is an opportunity for you to actually get hang of it. So this is by default, this HP is my own username. So whatever you use as your username is what will be what will be displayed here. I said for preference sake, I would love to change my name to desktop. I mean my own directory to desktop. All right, so if you like, you can save it in any folder of your choice, maybe document or whatever. So then next we run Flutter create. So this is how to tell Flutter you want to create a new a new project folder. So with that Flutter create command, the next thing is the name of the project you want to create. So a godly person has already made a beautiful suggestion for that we should name it type app. Right? Okay, so I explained the naming convention. I don't know if you guys get that before I got disconnected. So I said earlier that the naming convention actually follows a certain protocol. You are not permitted to use hyphen because you are using two words. Like when you are using two words, right? I mean, traditionally we want to make it make some amendment to it to make it legible, right? So some people will want to put hyphen in between to separate the type and the app. So, but what command prompt allows you to use is underscore. So if you use this, it will treat it as a different command entirely. So, and I mean, and following that, you might get error thrown at you. So what you can do is to use underscore. Okay. So now let's hit enter. Okay. So it is creating our project for us. At most, this should take 1 minute, provided the network is stable enough. Awesome. So yeah, so I want to. All right. So do we all get to this point? Mine is said now. If you have something like this, all right. So if you have something like this, that means we are on the same page. So is there anybody that has issue up to this point?
So please zoom in your
So please
permission.
start on beginning.
One after the other, please.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, go on. I'm with you.
Ask question. Raise your hand. Please let's not do anyhow, please. Thank you. But please go ahead.
Okay, so my question, I actually did this, and the error I'm getting is Flutter is not recognized as an internal command or external command. So are we running it from my SDK where I drop my Flutter SDK? Am I running it from that folder? Okay, Bola, Mr. Bola, you're actually having issue with your environment setup. I mean, that was week one. Tutorial, right? Mr. David has already taken care of that. What's the issue you're facing right now is the fact that you didn't do your setup correctly. So during the tutorial, I'm very sure you must have been directed to add your Flutter to your environmental variable. So the reason you have to do that is to make sure that it is actually accessible at anywhere in your system. So if you just have your SDK downloaded without adding it to your environment variable, that is without creating a new path for it in your environment variable. So it is restricted to that repository alone. Like you can only access Flutter from .bats, that is where you created that folder at. So for you to be able to access it from other places, like this command prompt or from your text editor, that is VS Code, if it is Android Studio Code you're using or whatever. So you have to do that, adding it to environment variable. So you will want to check back, this guide tutorial, this Mr. David tutorial, maybe after this class. So, but I think the best thing you can do right now is to just hang on, like just tight and see how this one goes. So whatever knowledge you've, put together from this one, so maybe you try to replicate it later. Okay. Who else is having issue for what we've done so far? Okay, so that is the rest of us are good. All right, Telma, you can unmute yourself.
Yeah, I raised concern about the issue I was having. It's not still rectified.
Okay, I'm just checking the chat session now. Okay, I see Mr. Kevin is doing a great job. All right. So what's your issue? I can't find it on chat session. What's the issue?
So, Mr. Rashid, I think you would need to also check the Slack channel because that was where she sent a screenshot of her screen. Yeah. Or do you need me to send it to you
Okay,
on WhatsApp?
okay, all right. What do you say?
Do you need me to send it to you on WhatsApp?
Tell me, can you
Which
come
time?
again? All right, so you can send it on WhatsApp to fast track the process because it's been a
Okay,
while. I check my slide. My Slack. It might take process to. Some time to
no
load up.
problem.
So you can just send it to me on Slack. All right, so let's move on. Why that is going on? All right, so if you made this far, I deserve giving yourself a pat at the back, right? Because you are all set up for the development parts. So if you got it to this point, congratulations. So now next thing is to enter that code. Okay, now let's take a look at what we've just done so far. We created a folder named type app, right? So this is it right here. So Flutter has internally created, that command prompt created a new Flutter project for us that is right here on our desktop. Okay. So now what we want to do next is to open this folder on our text editor. So and to do that, one is to do it manually. You right click, then go to open with code. Okay. So that's quite fine. But as a developer, right, you want to I mean developers love giving commands a lot. Okay, so because of that, we actually prefer running it from the terminal with command. Okay, so this is how you go about it. First thing first, our current directory right now is desktop, right? So we have to switch to that project directory. Okay, so no, we've said it before that cd is what you use to change your directory. Right? Cd, then the name of the directory. Directory is analogous to project name. Your folder name in this case. Okay, so that is type app. So now we are inside dive app. The next thing we do now is open it with VS Code. This is command you use to open if you are using VS Code. So this is the command you use. So when you do this, good. So are we still all together? So who have gotten it up to this point? Awesome. So now, so here's the thing. I personally, my emul my emulator got crashed. Some couples of weeks ago. Maybe actually like I messed up with my system. Actually, the thing is I I I put what my system can more than what my system can take. So that is I overused my system storage. So as a result of that, my emulator got crashed. So what I've been doing since all this while is I'm using my own device as my emulator. So I test my application with my device, okay, my Android device. So if your emulator is working fine, good for you. So you can at this point, because that's the next thing you want to do. The next thing you want to do now is to run this boilerplate, this project for on our emulator. That is our testing device, be it the Android Studio emulator you are using or your mobile device. So I'm just saying whichever one you choose to use, you are good to go. We are very much on the same page, okay. But I personally am going to make it as my own device. So if for some reasons you want to use your own device as me, that's fine. So if your emulator is your best choice, you are very good to go. Okay. So I'll do the connection now. Does anyone have any question regarding what I've just said?
Yeah, I have
Okay,
a
Stephen.
question. Yeah, thank you. I don't know. Are you using this blue VS Code? Because I thought that was not working before. It was the purple or pink one that was working, that we had to use.
Okay. Okay, if I get you right, you mean you are using Android Studio Code, right?
No, I mean the visual code, the
So
visual
I think he's talking about Visual Studio.
All right. So what exactly is your complaint? What are you trying to see in essence? Do you mean you are using a
Yeah,
different text editor?
no, because I literally thought the visual code won't work for this thing because I don't know, I've forgotten his name. The other tutor
Okay.
actually recommend we use the other visual
Oh,
code.
I get the
That's
point.
the
I
one.
get the point. I get the point. So here's the thing. So far, what we've been doing is laying the foundation for the Flutter development. Okay, so that was why we started with that development. So as I said at the beginning of this tutorial, that is the language of Flutter. Okay, it's the programming language through which we build the Flutter applications. So just like Flutter, you can use VS Code and Android Studio to run. That is an IntelliJ when I say Android Studio, okay, for your that programming. So I was in that session the other time when we tried to run some command on VS Code and we're having issue. Minor issue, not a very serious one actually. So we decided to resort to that part, okay. So I'm sure this is the one you are talking about, right? That part. Is this what you mean? Anyway, so that
No,
part
no,
is
no.
what allows you to.
Hello, can you hear me, sir?
Okay, okay, you
I'm
said
not talking
no,
about
but
the data.
this was what I mean. Anyway, so I mean the rule. I mean here is the rule of thumb. Like for you to build Flutter application, I mean there are two contenders you can. I mean you can actually explore when it comes to text editor. So the two contenders are Visual Studio Code, which is the one I'm using now, and the other one is Android Studio Code. Let me open the Android Studio Code so that you can also see it. So all this thing is something you guys should have done before in your environmental setup. So assumption is that all this one has already been set in place. Okay, but anyway, it's still part of the learning process. So this is Android Studio Code. Then this one that we are using currently is Visual Studio Code. These are the two text editors Flutter developers guys don't make code for them. So and each has their own pros and cons. Okay, for people like me and most other developers that decide to be using Visual Studio Code, our reason is the fact that Visual Studio is very lightweight. The thing is Visual Studio Code is very light, so I mean it supports fast developments. Unlike Android Studio Code, Android Studio Code is very comprehensive. It has virtually almost everything you need. I mean, including the plugin, the emulator itself, then debugging tool, just a couple of things. Okay, so because of that, it's kind of quite heavy to work with. So, but anyone that you decide to use, you are very much on track. So, I don't know the text editor you were using before, but these are the two you want to consider. Okay, so now, okay, let me take one more question before we move on. I hope I made that clear to you, Mr. Stephen, if you were the one that asked the last question.
Yeah, you actually said everything. I mean, what you just said now gave me better clarity. But my question, sorry that I'm asking too much question, sir. Just
No, it's fine, it's
this
fine, it's part of it.
this VS Code, there are two. And they
All right.
have one that is blue like this one, and they have one that look like a pink kind of color. I don't know if you know that this VS
Okay,
Code.
okay. Yeah, I'm following.
So
Um,
I was I was asking, is it this one or that one? Because this particular VS Code, I have it on my system. But while I was doing the setup of the Android studio, doing the command prompt or something,
can you
it
all
was
still
like
hear me?
step, sir.
Yes, sir, we
Are
can
we
hear you.
together? You can react with emoji.
So I will try to reach out to him again. Seems like his network is failing. So
Okay.
Rashid, can you hear us? Okay, his screen is even. Let me try to reach out to him.
Okay, so while she does that, I think Stephen, I understood your question. Let me see if I can answer you. So, Stephen, can you hear me loud and clear? Give me a reaction if you can. I want to know. Great. So you're talking about Visual Studio. So Visual Studio is the purple one, the pink one you're talking about. Now that is different from Visual Studio Code, which is this. Okay, I'm not sharing my screen. Which is the blue one we'll be using to code. Visual Studio can be used to code as well, but that's not why Visual Studio is for very, very high end developing and C++ and the rest of that. But that is not why we installed Visual Studio. We installed Visual Studio at the beginning of your Kini. How do you call this thing? At the beginning of your installation process, you installed Visual Studio. The pink one that you installed, it was just for certain dependencies. It was for debugging your any code that you do, okay? Because you need that even to run your, how should I explain it to you? You have to install that to it's like a workload for your code and everything that you do. So that's why we actually installed that first visual code, which is the pink one that you used. But we will not use that. Just keep that there. That one is supposed to make sure that your blue one can work. But you can also use the, honestly, I don't even know how to use the pink one. I've not tried it before. But then when I was doing my setup, I did use the pink one, and then I use it to install certain dependencies to make sure that when I am using the blue one, it will work well. I don't know if that made sense, but we'll not use the pink one again. After you've done all your installation now, everything you do will be on the blue one. Do you understand that, Stephen?
All right, let's give it up
Excellent.
to.
Excellent. You're an honorary.
Alright.
Thank you.
You're welcome,
Let's
sir.
give
Thank
it up
you.
to Mr. E. Right. What does that E stand for, if I may ask?
E-
Einstein. Do you just say Einstein?
I hope so.
All right. So it's actually my pleasure to finally meet Einstein virtually this night. Anyway, thank you for your explanation. So again, I got disconnected, but I've sorted it out again. Yeah, you were talking about existence of two different Visual Studio code. I mean, you are not alone in that dilemma, okay? Because exactly the same thing happened to me when I just got started. I was like, what the heck? How can I be running two Visual Studio code? So, but they are actually two different things. They are very two different. They are very different, okay? The thing is, you don't need. Let me open it. Can we still see? Okay, can we all see my screen?
No, you're not
No,
sharing
no,
your
no.
screen yet.
Oh, okay. Let me share my screen to make it as practical as possible. Okay, how about now? Awesome.
It's
So
coming.
I want to quickly so
Up.
Visual Studio 2022. So this is the other guy Mr. Stephen is talking about. So there are two different things. When you are setting up your Flutter environments, right? What you actually need, if during our onboarding session, I made mention of this, that Flutter is a great tool, okay? It's a great framework. So for the fact that it allows you to build not just for smartphone, not just for mobile devices, you can use it to also build web application. So there's a web application that I've built with Flutter before. Let me see. Okay, you can use it to build a web application. You can also use it to build desktop application. All those software applications are on your desktop application that run on your laptop. You can as well use Flutter to build it. So as a Flutter developer, you are not just limited to mobile application development alone. So you can as well do some web application development and also some desktop application development. Even recently, there's a new framework, Flutter framework, that is just released recently. So the name is Flame. That one allows you to build like games. It allows you to develop games. Okay. So Flutter is as dynamic as that. So what is Visual Studio Code? Visual Studio Code 2022. That's the version we are currently using. It's developed by Microsoft. So what it allows you, or how it comes into the picture in Flutter development, is if you want to actually build for desktop applications. Okay. So if you're, I mean, if one of your ambitions in choosing this career path is to be developing application for desktops, such as this Slack I'm using now, this my Capcore, this Zoom and stuff like that. So if you want to be building application for desktop, so that is when you consider this guy. This guy allows you to, I mean, it helps you to compile C++ code. So underneath the hood, okay. So that is the essence of it. But for this program, this dive initiative, right? So we are confined to mobile application development alone, okay. So, but the sky is your oyster. You can explore as much as you want. So you can try to actually practicalize with it. But it's a very heavy IDE, okay. It's as heavy as Android Studio Code. So unlike Visual Studio Code, it's a very heavy one. So for you to work with it, you must make sure that you have a good computation. I mean, your laptop or your system, I mean, is of high standard. Okay, so that's just the differences. Okay, so in your setup, while you were required to do this, it is not actually mandatory. So hasn't been you skipped it while you were doing your setup, you would have still been able to run your Flutter application without any setbacks. All right. So is that do I make that clear? I mean, is that clear to all of us now?
Yeah, for me, absolutely, it was very clear.
Awesome. So good to know. So next thing now is to run this Flutter project we've created is to run it on our emulator and see what exactly it looks like. Okay. So now, for the purpose of learning, right? So I'll also be walking us through on how I'm going to test my own using my mobile device. Okay. That is for those of us that want to kind of like follow my way. Like if you want to follow my way in this particular way, so we can always work together. So right now what I'm doing is to connect my my mobile phone to my laptop using my USD. That is, I'm using my cord, USB cord. So I've done that. Okay, but before that, let me add this question: were you guys taught how to actually connect your mobile phone to your laptop for testing purpose, so that I should not reinvent the wheel? Okay. All right. So that means I can just save myself the hassle of explaining that. So I'll just go on it. Actually, what I'll be doing now is to join this call with another account so that I can also be sharing my screen of what our application looks like. Okay. Since I said I have some challenges using my own emulator. So you give me some few minutes to join with another account. All right, so I've joined with another account. So now let me go ahead to to run Flutter run. Okay. So if you've made it to this point, you can open your terminal. So I'm sure you know how to open your terminal on VS Code, right? In case you are new to it, just hold Control Shift. That key that is next to that is below Escape key on your keyboard. So you can just hold that three keys. It will help you to open your terminal. So the keys are called Control Shift, the key below Escape key. Okay, I don't know the name, so I hope we're all together. All right. So okay. First of all, let's explain all these I don't want to call it gibberish, but all these
I'm
different
so
folders we
sorry
are
to
seeing
cut
here.
you short, Mr. Rashid. Can you hear me? Hello?
All right. I'm listening.
Okay, so Mary Precious has been raising her hand now for like, say, 10-15 minutes. And please, can we just answer?
Precious, my apologies. I mean, the development
Thank you.
parts, the excitement for the development part has taken me away. Okay, so I wasn't actually paying enough attention. Sorry about that. So you can actually unmute yourself and speak up now.
Okay, thank you so much, sir. Thank you, Temitope. Okay, sir, I am really confused. When we created the file or for the Flutter, that's Dive app, when we created the Dive app, I wanted to know if did we install any dependency or packages that why is all those files showing? Or is it whenever I create a folder and open it in my VS Code, those packages will start showing? Because I did not see when we installed any
Um,
package.
at some point I lost your voice. So, but from how you ended the question, I think I should be able to relate to what you are talking about. Right? So, if I get you right, you are saying why all these packages, why all these things, this thing I'm hovering on, why are they showing?
Yeah.
That the only
Yes,
thing
sir.
we did was just to create folder. Like, how come about all these things? Right? Is that the
Yes,
question?
yes. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Precious, are you still there? Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. I said yes, sir. That was my question.
Okay. So that's the next thing we are going to look at now. That is where we are going to. Okay. So still sit tight. Okay. So you are going to get it this time now. Okay. So you remember how we run the Flutter create diver before we get to this point. So what was, and you should also remember the fact that that doesn't happen like on a flip of a finger. Right? It takes some couple of seconds before this thing actually gets created for us. So the reason why it took as long as that, because in programming, I mean 5 seconds is a whole lot of time. Okay, if you are having performance issue by second, I mean there is a serious challenge.
Please, can somebody confirm me, please? His network, or if it's my network, please.
It up, okay, as a
Yeah.
repository. And the beauty of it is it's an open source project, okay. So that is anybody, including you and I,
Sorry, Mr.
can
Rashid, we
actually
lost you for a second, though. Can you hear
Flutter
us?
repo. Yes.
Okay. So we lost you for a second. You might want to like take it back a bit. Maybe rewind. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Tammy, for keeping us on track. Every time network wanted to shame us. All right, so let's rewind a bit, okay? Because I I mean, all right, let's take it back a bit. I said while we were trying to create this repository, this project folder, it took us about 30 to 15 seconds before we could have it created. So, and the reason is that Flutter engine was doing a very tasking task, okay, on its own end to make sure that it put all these things in order for us. So, and why does it have to do that? Flutter is a framework, right? Is a framework. Well, when we say framework, I mean, okay, let me try to make it clear. We have that, right? We have that as the programming language. Then we have Flutter as the framework. What's actually the difference between the two? Ordinarily, we can do mobile development with that alone, okay, without even having ever to touch and Flutter. We can actually build a mobile application with just that without making it, I mean, having anything to do with Flutter. But Flutter is a framework. So what does that mean? Like it makes the process of development a way more easier for you, like a way more easier, more than you can actually phantom. So I mean, experts experts in mobile development, Google engineers, they came together, they came up with this idea of building something that can actually make a mobile development as fast and as snappy as possible. Okay, so that's how the idea of Flutter actually evolved. So, and the way they make that simplification is getting short, is getting a whole lot of tasks. They shrug off a lot of tasks away from your shoulder. Okay, things that you would have to do on your own, they help you to do it. Like do a lot of things for you, so that you only have less to do. So that is why all this stuff comes. That is how all this stuff comes into play. Okay. So we have that too. We have an Android folder, we have iOS, we have Lead. So they try to figure out the best way they can actually do all these things for you, so that you don't have to be reinventing the wheel. So that is why all this Flutter is created. One of the reasons. So another reason is to make developments I mean, they are all still the same thing, to make development very fast. But you will not be able to get it clear unless you actually look at them one after the other and see what each of them is. Okay. All right. So that what we'll be doing next. I want to give us a quick overview of what each of these folders we are seeing, like what they are used for. Okay. So the first one here is that tool. That is this dot tool. This dot tool is a new one. Okay. Well, I mean, if you are working with that version less than 2.2.1, you don't have this dot tool included in this kind of. That is, if you follow all these commands, you will not have this one included. Okay, so it's a new one. So if you open it the way I do, like if you open the folder, so you see that it has that pad and extension dot this kind of the package configuration. So this is just like I mean, this just enabled us to run some that code, right? So that's the essence of this one. Then we have another one called. Let's just look at the most important one, okay? Because this that code and this next one, you will never have to like toy them. So we are never going to toy them during the course of development. So let's just go to what is most important, which are this Android folder. We have this Android folder that we'll talk about. Another one is this iOS folder. The next one is this Sleep folder. So then and the rest. So now let's start with Android folder. Yes, Flutter allow you to use for Android and iOS, right? So that is why we have these two folders here, Android and iOS. So as we move on, or as each of you move on in this journey of mobile development of yours, okay. So you get to see that for you to build platform specific project, that is whether Android or iOS, there's some configuration you will need to do. That is, if I want to build for Android devices, so I have to make some Android specific configuration. So that is when I will have to open. We're here, right, talking about each of these folders. So at what point did you guys stop hearing me, so that you know which one to explain again?
Okay, I think it was at the point where you were answering Thelma's question and you were trying to explain why after we created the after we ran the Flutter, it created all these other folders, the pubspec.lock, the pubspec.yaml, all of that. I think that was a
All right, thank you. So, yes, I said the reason why all that, I mean, that process has to happen in the fact that Flutter is taking the time to build all these things for us. So, and I was explaining the reason. I don't know if you guys get that I made a reference to the difference between that and Flutter as a framework. So I said something that as a programming language actually allows you to build mobile application without without having anything to do with Flutter at all. So with that alone, you can actually build that allows you to build CLI application, backend application, mobile application, web application, and all. So, but then Flutter actually make the work a way more easier. So that's why they call it framework. Okay, like it's kind of like just as it goes, it frame up the work for you. Okay, making it a way more easier than you having to do everything on your own. So that is why each of these folder. I hope you are still together. Can we still hear me?
yes, sir, we can hear you.
Oh, all right, awesome. So that is why Flutter, underneath the hood, created all these files for you. So ordinarily, you have to be figuring out all of these things out yourself during the course of development. So Flutter has already done all this one for you to shrug off some adversity from your own end. So then, and what I was doing next was to be explaining each of the folders, like when do they come to play? Okay, when do you have to make use of them during your course of development? So that was the next thing I was doing. So before I go to realize that I was not actually connected anymore. So then, this that tool, just signifying that we are working with that. So you're never gonna make use of this one. I said that it is introduced recently. If you are using older version of that, like earlier version of that, something like that, before any version of that before that 2.1, okay. So you're never gonna see something like this that tool, okay. It is newly introduced, and this .ide. So these two, you're never gonna do anything with them. Then as a mobile or Flutter developer, the part of this folder that you are going to like mess with most of the time, okay, is this Android folder, this iOS folder, this sleep folder, and Linux, Mac, Windows, depending on the platform you are developing for. Then including this test folder. So these are the folders you are going to work with. So then the next thing I did was to be explaining the use cases of each folder. Okay, so for this Android folder, we established it earlier that Flutter allow you to build Android and iOS application, right? So when you are building, at a time you can only build a particular platform application, right? So what I mean is when you are building an application, so you can you as the developer, you made the decision of confining it to Android or iOS from the very beginning, okay? Or maybe you want to generalize it too, right? So it all depends on you. So usually when you are doing, depending on the one you want to do at that particular point in time. For instance, if I'm building application, right? So maybe I want the application to be available to both Android users and iOS users, but I have to start with one first. So each of these each of these OS operating system, they require different configuration. Okay, so for any configuration that is related to Android devices, this is where you do it. You come to this Android and folder, so you do some configuration. So usually we do some configuration on this app, that is on this build gadget, then some on this main that you go to. So when we get to this point, like we dive deeper, okay. But for now, just know that their essence is to allow you to do platform specific configuration, okay. So that is the essence of this Android folder. Then same thing goes to this iOS folder. It also allows you to do iOS specific configuration. So when you are customizing your application for iOS, you come here, do some configuration. Usually, if you want to app, the simplest one, if you want to add your app icon, that's the icon you want your application to have. You come to this owner folder, you open it, go to this asset.x assets. So then you replace your image folder. That is the image that contains your app icon. You replace it with all this one. So we are still going to get to all of this as we move on. Okay, so it's all gonna make sense in the long run, but I just want us to have like the basic understanding of their essence. Okay, so that is the reason why we have that iOS phone. That just the Android and the iOS allows us to do platform specific configuration. So then the next one there is this lib folder. Lib is a short for library. Okay, so it actually encompasses all that logic or that files or that code that you are going to use to build our Flutter application. And 90% of the time, this is the folder we are going to mess up around with as a Flutter developer. So your that code, okay, we can even see one here. Let's open it and see. So they call it main.dat. We are going to very soon we will revisit this. Okay, so you see, like it is, or it, I mean, it has this extension .dat. That means it is a dat code. Okay, so every dat code is going to enter this lib folder. So it's one you are going to do a lot. This is where you are going to do a lot of your work as a Flutter developer. So this one, the next one is Linux. That is if you are building for Linux platform. Macros if you are building for Mac OS side, then test. So this one, this test folder is to, I mean, it enables you to write some testing. Okay, there's unit testing, integration testing. I mean, as you become professional developer, right? So you find the need to actually be writing testing to validate functionality of your program. Okay, that is when you write a logic. So performance for performance purpose or for the sake of optimization, so you want to write some logic or some testing to be very sure that your program is actually doing what it is expected to do. So usually people write most of the time we write unit testing, okay, but sometimes condition might also warrant us to write some integration test. But whichever of the two, this is where we are going to do it. So then another one is a web folder. This web folder is web specific, right? That is if you want to build a web application with Flutter. Then this one Windows. That is if you want to build Windows application. That is a Windows application with Flutter. Then the next important one is this git ignore. So this one, like I was actually going in detail in the explanation because it is important to know their essence. Okay. Let me confirm again. Are we all still together?
Yeah, we can hear you loud and clear.
Awesome. All right, so let me go back to that screen. So this git ignore. I mean, when you are building a fully fledged application, like a real world application, most of the time you are not going to use a Flutter alone. Like you are not just to Flutter is just a UI toolkit, right? But almost all the applications we see out there, they have a lot of dynamics, right? I mean, you can go, visit different pages. They are quite dynamic. They come with a lot of functionality. So to power up your application like that, you need to include some third parties in your Flutter application. So most of the time, we make use of APIs. So I'm sure most of you know what is meant by API, right? That is API is like it stands for application all application interface, right? Is that right? All program interface. I think that should be the correct one. Right? So basically the point I'm trying to drive out from there is that when you have sensitive information or sensitive data that you don't want other people to be able to access, for instance, that API, because API, for you to even get access to it, there is something called API key. API key is what grants you access a particular API. And most of the time, for you to get that API key, you do have to pay for it, okay? So something like that, you want to make it as confidential as possible, as highly confidential as possible. So because for real application, after you built it, you are going to push it to GitHub or whatever cloud service you want to make use of. GitHub most of the time. So when your project is live on GitHub, if you make it public, what it means that any developer across the globe will be able to access that particular project. So if you actually leave a sensitive data like API key on your application and you push it to GitHub, imagine you you pay a ransom to get that API key. So I can easily snitch in, right? Go and copy that your API key and just make use of it on the Flutter uploading, right? So you will never want that such a thing to happen. So sensitive data like that you don't want any person to mess up with, okay, you hide them in this Git hidden. So that is the essence of it, Git hidden. So the next important thing that we need to pay attention to is this analysis option.yaml. So let's open it and see what it's all about. So we are seeing a lot of strengthening, right? So this analysis allows us to give it helps us when we are writing our Flutter application, we'll be seeing some recommendations. Or let me just do something quick. I want to change this. So you see that the thing is now showing that I've done something wrong, right? We are seeing this red right now. That means something wrong is happening. So what is actually doing all of that for us is this analysis dot options. That is it is the one that is giving us some rules or like keeping us on track, right? Giving us some hint about our application. Okay. Then the next important one, or should I even say the most important one, or whatever. All of them are important, but this one is something we should all hold dear to our hearts, okay, because it means a lot, okay. Like then this prospect.yaml file. I'm sure we all know what is meant by YAML, right? YAML means YAML ends markup language. Are we all together?
Yeah, we are with you, sir.
Yep.
Right. So yeah, this prospect.yaml, it actually stands for pub specification.yaml. YAML is an acronym which stands for YAML, as it is spelled like this. This A is ends, right? Markups language. Yeah, so that is what it means. And to me, it's one of the funniest abbreviation I've ever seen. What the heck do you mean by YAML's ends markups language? Kind of like communicating something to us, like. But then YAML is it's a language on its own. Okay, just the way that is a programming language. HTML is a markup language. YAML is also a markup language. Okay, that is user friendly. Like it is human friendly and also machine friendly. That is what I mean. Is both machine and users understand it. Imagine without even being a developer, when you just visit something like this, like it makes sense to you, right? You see name, you see dive up here, description this here, like there's unlike this one. Look at this one. This one, like you have to fasten up your bed if you are in the car, right, before you can actually make sense of it. It's not that very friendly, right? But look at YAML again. Everything look very legible, right? So that is what they are trying to tell you about the meaning. That YAML ends markups language and stuff like that. So it is a language that is understood by machine. There is actually a language on its own. It is understood by machine and also by human, by mere looking at it. So, but in fact, is very important, okay, because building for maybe startup or company or maybe that you attach so much value to, right? So most of the time, you are not going to build everything from scratch. Who want to be inventing the wheel? All the time. So there are some people. People developers have built a lot of packages. Like they've written a lot of code to make our life easier. For instance, if I want to do authentication, right? So I can easily Firebase. If I want to do authentication with Firebase has a package that allow me to do that seamlessly without having to write the code from scratch. Okay, so there are a lot of packages like that, or you can call it dependencies. So this is where you are going to add them. That is dependencies packages or dependencies is a way for you to use other people's code in your own project to make your life a way more easier, right? So when you are specifying those packages, okay, this is where you deal with them. if you look at this one carefully, you'll see that we have something here already, right? We have this Cupertino icons. Cupertino icons. So that is a package. This is how this is an instance of what they look like. Okay, this Cupertino icon that I highlight. But this one contributes. Like Flutter gave us this one right after, but okay. There is a reason behind it anyway. This Cupertino icon, it allows us to use iOS specific icons. You know, like all these iOS sites, their icons is kind of like those of us that use them, iOS I'm talking about. Usually the icons in iOS is kind of like different from the one on Android. That same icon, their outlook is actually different when you look at them in iOS and Android. So Flutter actually grant us access to most iOS icons through this package. Okay, so whenever you create a Flutter project, you have access to it automatically because Flutter actually build your project folder along with it. So that is this is an instance of the package. So all other package that your project is going to depend on, that is why it is called dependency, because your project is going to depend on them to to be fully functional. Okay, so you add them here. And one thing you should always keep in mind while dealing with this pub spec.yml is that it is actually length sensitive. Okay, that is this spacing you are seeing. You cannot see it, right? So the language is very sensitive to that. You see the way it actually throws up an error immediately, right? Because I've messed up with something. So let me control it to get back to the normal one. So usually there are times you have to use just single space. There is another instance you have to use them double space. So all those things you want to pay attention to them as much as possible during your own development. So that is that about pub spec. Then another thing that we should look at is this pub spec.lock. So the functionality of this one is very simple actually, and it is tremendous actually. Because imagine you are working for a company in collaboration with other developers. So definitely you guys will not, you and the other developers will not have the same settings, right? The same setup, like system setup, like Flutter setup and every other thing. So, but then you guys will not be able to work in unison, like you guys will not be able to work collaboratively if you don't have a particular, a same setup for that particular project. What I mean is, let's say we are using Firebase. If I'm using Firebase 12.0, version 12.0, and another developer is using a different version, that project is prone to a lot of issues. Okay, so this pubspec.log is the one that we use that help developers to be able to work on same dependencies, like dependencies version. Okay, let's go back to this pubspec.log. When you are making use of any dependency, you have to specify its version. The dependency here is this Cupertino icons. The version is this 1.0.8. Okay, and if you see this cap sign, right, this one that I'm hovering on, this thing that looks like a cap. So what it actually has a meaning. It means we can use any version of this 1.0, but it must not enter 2.0. We'll get back to this anyway. So let's just save our time because our time has been fast spent. Back to pubspec.log. So this one enables developers to work on same version of dependencies for any project they are working on. Okay. So, and you see that it's quite useful, right? Then last but not the least is this README file. So usually, imagine Mr. Einstein, imagine you build an application. The functionality and all the intricacies that has to do with the application will best known to you, right? I as a new user or as an outsider, we will hardly know much about your application. So there are some information that you want at least anybody that is paying attention to what you are doing should know from the get-go, right? So this is where you can put those information, like how to install your application, what your application needs to even on, literally anything you want them to know about your application. So you write them in this README file. Okay, Flutter has already done their own. So This one is the Flutter one. They told you that a new Flutter project getting started and blah blah blah. So I think these are the things we I feel like we should know about all these folders for now. So as we move on, it will get to like understand them better, and they will start making sense to us again. Before we finally run our project to see what it even look like, do we have any question? Any question? Are we still together? Okay. So, okay, in absence of no question, then let's move on. Let's move on. So now, next thing now is to run our application to see at least Flutter has created for, what does it even look like? So I'm sure we are all curious to see what Flutter actually has in store for us. Like, so we are unveiling it right now. Okay, so let's go back to our terminal. So sorry, I want to join with my other device again. Remember I said I'll be showing off our application from my mobile device. So give me 1 minute to connect with my device so that I can actually get to show the application.
All right.
Thank you. So okay, one more thing. Let me explain this main dot dots. I'm not explaining the code, but I just want us to have an insight of what is the FOK. In a typical Flutter project, something like main dot dot, dot dot files is going to be as many as possible. Like they are literally going to be very much okay. So and all of them, they're kind of like interconnected. They form what is called like a widget tree. Okay. All of this is still gonna make sense. Or I'm sure we must have been introduced to widget sites. All of us have had the idea that everything in Flutter is a widget. I'm sure something like this is not shouldn't be a stranger to most of us here, right? Because I want to believe Mr. David has already walked us through it, that everything in Flutter is a widget. Anyway, so what I want us to know about this main dot dots is that it is the starting point for all our Flutter application. Okay, what does that mean? Look at it. We have this class site that starts from here and ends here, and the class is named my app that extends stateless widgets. To be very sure, though we are not going to look at it, but just to be very sure, have we been walked through classes in that? Someone, you can unmute yourself and talk if you want to respond to that.
Sorry, what's the question?
Have we been walked through classes in that? Like, have we covered it in our previous classes? Anyway, we are still going to revisit it. Okay, like we are going to visit this topic as we move on. So I just wanted to explain something that has to do with class. That was why I'm asking. But then just know that this main dot that is the root. So I mean the starting point, the root point of all our other Flutter projects. Okay, kind of like think of it like this: all other dots. Now I told you something like this main dot that there are going to be a lot of them, a whole lot of them, depending on how cumbersome or how dynamic or how robust that project you are working on is. It's possible you will have up to thousands of them for a very big project. I mean, for a big startup, you can have up to thousands of them. Okay, but all of them, like these thousands of that folders. Okay, they all divide to a particular point. I mean, there's a point where they are all connected, where they are tied together. Okay, and that happens at this main dot dots. I mean, the name should even communicate it right. Main dot that. That means that is the main thing. That is the main point. Okay, so Flutter actually gave us a code that you are going to see what the interface is very soon. Okay, so now let's run this main dot that. Let's run this code that Flutter generated for this. I'm having a real calling here. Let me do something like that. All right. So for you to run your Flutter application, the command is flutter run. Flutter run. So you follow along with me in running this command, flutter run on your terminal and hit enter. Okay. Okay, so now my terminal is asking me that where do I want to run this project on? Do I want to run it on my Windows, or if I want to run it on my Chrome or on Edge or wherever? So, but I said I'm not going to use any of these three. I will rather use it. I will rather run it on my phone, okay, than any of these three. Because I mean, it makes sense for you to run it on Windows if you are building Windows application. If you are building web application, it makes sense for you to run your project on Chrome or Edge. But now we want to view mobile application, right? So we should either use emulator if your own is working, or you use your mobile device. Okay. So let me connect my mobile device again. I did it before, but it has disconnected. Let me do the connection again. So I'll kill this terminal and run it again. Something strange is going on. I'm actually using a new code. I'm using a new code. So if you are using emulator, your emulator should display here, okay? So you can just go and pick it where you want to run it on. So this is my emulator you are seeing. I mean, they have issue presently. If I should run it, if I should choose any of them, we will not leave this for today. I mean, they will be crashing and hanging. So that's why I stopped using them for the meantime. I'm actually the cause of it. I think I will explain it earlier on, right? So that's why I want to actually make use of my mobile device. So I will change my code now. I'm having issue with the code I'm using, so I'm going to switch to another code. So I'll run Flutter run again. Hopefully, it should show my device this time around. It's still not showing it. Maybe the connection is not intact yet. Okay. So if you are with me, you see that something has changed, right? My Infinix has entered the list, right? Infinix, blah blah blah. So that means my mobile device is connected. I mean, VS Code has identified my mobile device as an emulator right now. So I'm going to choose it. So and I'll come back and run run this project or this program on my device. So Flutter run again. Remember the command is Flutter run to start your to run your application on the device. So for the first time, this will take, depending on the system you are using, like it will take a bit long time again. So kind of like we're going to like wait for the next 5 minutes at most for it to run on our device. Okay. So while waiting, I think I should be entertaining some questions, right? Because I'm very sure some of us might have some part cloudy or part that you've not gotten quite right that you want me to throw some light on. Okay. So while waiting for our application to run and show on our device, so let's attend to some of the parts that are not quite that are not quite clear to us. So Mary, yeah, unmute yourself and let's hear you out. Okay. I think Mary is no longer there. Then Mr. Stephen, yeah.
Sorry, I'm here. I'm here.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, so I understand what you said so far, but what I don't understand is how we were able to open our documents, like, and we find ourselves in VS Code, but those files, packages are showing. I understand the explanation you gave and everything about it, but I want to know how it came about.
Your voice broke at some point. Like I lost your voice at some point. Come again with your question.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, yes.
Okay, so I understand what you explained so far, but what I don't really get is how we opened our Dive app from our documents into VS Code. How those stuff you explained, the packages, how they came about. I understand the
Okay.
explanation you gave, but how they came about inside the VS Code. Like, did you install it?
Okay. Okay. So to answer that, your question, the way I understand your question is like two in one question. Okay. First one is how did the project, the folder we created on our screen, like this Dive app right here, get to how did it get transferred to VS Code? Right? That is the first question. Then the second question is that
Yeah.
all these subfolders, all these directories, who put them inside?
Yes.
Like,
Yes, I thought
so
it would be an empty folder, but I'm
an
seeing
empty
stuff
for
inside.
exactly. Like, it's actually a very nice question because what the hell? Like, who actually did this? Who should put all these things inside this folder for the single command we actually run? Your question makes sense anyway. Here's the thing. To answer the first question, after we created the folder, right, the Dive app, so automatically, since we choose desktop as our directory, right, so that was why we had it on our desktop. So I remember that I said you can actually open, this folder is called Flutter project folder, right? So it is the folder we want to use to build our Flutter application. Remember, I told you all mobile application anyway, they are built in this similar fashion. Okay? Started with a folder like this. Well, regardless of the framework you're using, whether you are using a Kotlin or Swift or whatever, or Flutter or React Native or whatever. So you start with a folder like this, okay? So that's the thing. So this folder, depending on the platform you are using or the framework you are using, the embodiment of the folder, that is what the folder will encompass, actually be different depending on the framework you are using. So for you to start building your application, you cannot use Microsoft folder. You cannot use Microsoft Word to build Flutter application. Neither can you use PowerPoint. You have to use text editor, right? So, and we said the two alternatives or options you should consider for Flutter development should be Visual Studio Code or Android Studio Code. You might know other ones, but these are the two you should consider because so far so good. They are the best. All right. So for us to open it with either of these text editor, you can do it in two ways. One of the ways is to right click on the folder. When you right click on the folder, it's my system hanging. All right, all right. So when you like click on the folder, if you have depending on the text editor you have, like it should bring the option. So if you look at this one now, I can actually, I did the setup anyway. Like I did the setup that I should be able to open my folder with VS Code. I don't know if you guys, if it is part of the way you guys set up your environment when you are doing that. But if you don't, if you didn't do it this way, it is fine. Another way is to open your VS Code. You go to new folder, then open new folder from VS Code, then open this folder from VS Code. That is another way you can go about it. But me, I don't like stress. Like if you know me, you know that I don't like stress actually. So I just prefer having it here. And later on, I still discovered that this one, I mean, I did fancy this one, okay, because it looked too explicit, okay. As a programmer, right, you want most of the time you want to be giving things command, like commanding them a lot of things, right? So that is why I actually choose to use a command prompt to open the folder instead, okay. I mean, we don't want to be doing things in conventional way, like in a traditional way, right? Like in normal way. Okay? So that is why I use command prompt to actually open the folder. For you to use command prompt to open the folder, VS Code, it has a specific command for you to do that, which is code as in VS Code. Okay, then you give space, then your full, I mean, the full stop they call it or whatever. So then when you do this, since look at it, we are already inside that. I mean, project directory, right? Dive app. So mean we are inside that dive app now. It just like this one. What it means is just like we opened it like this. We open dive app like this. That is what it means. We inside that dive app directory literally means we open the dive app application, I mean folder like this in this manner. Okay, so that is exactly what happens here. So then that is exactly what happened here. So since you are now inside, we can now open it in VS Code using this code dot. Okay, so if I press it again, you see that another folder has been opened. Let's me over on my VS Code. Very soon now it return to true because another here you see another one is opening. So another one is opening. My PC is hanging right now. I mean, I said it before that I've messed up with my system, right? So I've exhausted all the space. That's why it is hanging right now. So I will do something about it. Before our next class. That is why it is hanging right now. But then our application has loaded actually. Okay. But maybe I should. Easier because ordinarily we have to be the one to be writing, creating each and every one of them. But with this command we run on our command prompts, this Flutter create app. So that command is actually a command, okay? So the way Flutter interprets it is to create a new folder for our Flutter project and put all the necessary things we need for for Flutter development, okay? That is what Flutter interpreted it to be, okay? That is why it helps you to put all the necessary folder that it knows. No, Flutter knows what you need better than you do, right? Because of course, the developers that developed it are the ones that actually put those things inside. So they know that these are the things you need at least to start your Flutter development. Of course, along the way, you might decide to add more things or remove some. But on the grand scheme of things, okay, those are the things you needed to start your Flutter development. So it is through this command that we run. Flutter create. I can't find it. I can't see right now. Okay, Flutter creates type up. This Flutter create was what actually embedded those same folders inside our project. So now let's get to see what our application looks like. Okay, and our time has been fast spent. I was let me speak with Mrs. Temi to this end first. Mrs. Temi, what do you think about our timing? I mean, we might not have that luxury of time to go into building our own application. That is after explaining the interface. So what do you suggest we do? Should we call it a day? I mean, should we put the class to an end and probably do it in the next class, or should we move on to build the application and we proposed? Is Mrs. Tem is still on the call? I guess she's not, right?
I am. Can you hear me? Okay. We spent a anyways. We should wrap up the class like now because we've exhausted the time allocated for this class. We are supposed to end this class by 10:30. Now it's 10:50, going to 11. Do we have any questions?
Yeah, I literally have questions, but I don't know. The mentor is not the.
Okay, so what's going to happen is that you send your questions and maybe we can address it now. Can we address it now, Mr. E? Are you available to address any questions, or Tosin?
Yeah, let's just try. There's no
All
harm in
right.
trying. Let's see what we can do.
Okay.
Okay, I
My
think he's back.
question-
Okay, he's
I
back. He's
guess
back. Mr. Rashid, welcome back. Can you hear us?
Thank you. Network kept on disgracing me, but as I said earlier, I'm still not gonna give up.
This
Alright,
one will
so
soon give up. Oh. We'll soon give up.
the thing is, I was asking you question, Mrs. Temi, before network got me out of.
Yeah, I
out of track.
responded. I said that
Okay.
I'm still here.
Okay, so because I mean, with the look of things, I don't want the class to extend beyond level. That is on my own end. So I was thinking whether if we could just end it here after I've shown them the application Flutter gave us right after birth. So maybe in our next class, we'll now build our application since we will not know like what we'll be dealing with. So does that make sense?
Okay, so we have 8 minutes to 11. My question is, what we are trying to do now, can we wrap it up before 11?
Of course, just to show an interface actually.
All right, and let's go ahead. Although someone has a question, so
Okay,
I
so
think we have to spend like say 11:10 thereabouts. Maybe we'll wrap up. If that works with everybody on this call, I think we can proceed.
Okay, so yeah, that makes sense. After showing the application, I mean, the interface we have here, so we entertain some question and then call it a day. So now,
Not some
so I'll
question.
be
Sorry to correct you. I'm so sorry. Not some question.
Alright.
A question. One
okay.
person.
All right.
Yes.
So
Thank
maybe
you.
other question will come through Slack, right?
Yes, of course.
All right. So I'll be sharing my screen with another device right now. Okay.
Mr. Rashid, are you still sharing your screen?
Yes.
Okay,
I got disconnected. I got disconnected on my mobile device also, so I had to reconnect first.
Okay.
Okay, so I can see my screen actually. I don't need to ask. Alright, so So this part, this interface you are seeing is called splash screen, right, or on body screen. So you see that it comes up with Flutter logo, right? So when you're building your own application, you want to change that. So maybe in our next class or by another instructor, you walk through how to actually change that um to your own choice of icon. Okay, so this is the application Flutter has come up with, okay, or Flutter has given us, okay, to start with. So this is literally what it is. It's basic counter app. So when you click on this plus sign, so you see the counter kept on increasing. So we don't have that time to explain the technical aspect of it again, but I just wanted us to see what we have from that code, from this code snippets that come with Flutter Create. Okay. So in our next class, so we'll make sense of how everything got to got to be, okay, like how everything happened, okay, and also get to build our own application from scratch. So that will be interactive, just the way this plus sign keeps on giving, incrementing our number. So that is what we'll look forward to doing in our next class. Actually, it's meant to be part of this today's standard. I mean, we actually have to. I found the necessity of us laying down a strong foundation before actually diving into those aspects. So in our next class, we just find a way to keep it. So we've come to the end of today's session. So let's just take a question as promised to officially call it a day. I mean, before I'll hand over the mic to Mrs. Temi to call it off. So
Yeah.
okay,
Can
I'm
I ask?
listening.
Yeah, I have 2 questions from a person. That's for me. One person. Yeah, thank you. I wanted to ask for this Flutter stuff we'll be doing. So each time you want to probably do a project. So this
Sorry for cutting you
now.
short. Sorry for cutting you short. Can you start all over again? I lost your voice before.
Okay, thank you. Okay, no problem. That's fine. Yeah, I was asking for this Flutter stuff, mobile development. So each time you want to build a project, so we are basically going to go through the route of having to use command prompt or just manually create the folder ourselves. That's the first question. That's the first question.
Okay.
Why?
First question.
Why? Can I go on, sir?
Yeah, move on. Move on.
Okay, thank you. So while you were trying to show us how to use our for this thing, I was having the like I could not even see your so I didn't even know where you click on to show the phone and all that's why the process. And again, the Google Meet
Sorry.
over.
One minute. Come with your second question again. I didn't get it. The voice was breaking.
Okay, thank you. I was asking that why you were trying to show us how we can probably use our phone as an emulator or something. I could not see your picture, like I didn't know where you press or how you were able to, because on the Google Meet this thing that was we were supposed to hide was like blocking something. I could not really see it. So I don't know, maybe the recording later will do justice to it. But I'm just trying to make a claim of this. And for the first question also. So yeah, that's it. Thank you,
Okay.
sir.
All right. Thank you very much for your question. The first question was, can I remember? Or do you want to remind me?
Okay, yeah,
Okay, let me.
the first question was why building our project? Are we going to
Okay.
I mean
Yeah,
for
I remembered. So
okay,
you said for our subsequent projects, or as you get to building other projects, do we always have to be going through this cycle of processes, going to command prompt to create new Flutter projects, and then before we get to start doing other stuff? Um, the answer is the answer is yes, and you can also take it as no. Okay, but the direct answer is yes. Then it has like a side answers, okay, which can be translated to no. Okay. So what do I mean by that? Yes, for the fact that there's no other way. I mean, there's no other recommendable way or advisable way for you to go about your Flutter project other than creating it from scratch. When I say there's no other recommended way, I think it should give a, I mean, give some hints to you that you could actually do it in another way, right? But it might not be recommendable or advisable. So other way you might be thinking of is to copy your pre-existing project, copy and paste it, then change the name and change other stuff and start working with it. If you do it like that, it will work, but it is not recommendable. It's not advisable. Why? Anytime you get to run Flutter Create, Flutter gives you, based on the Flutter version you are running, it gives you the latest updates of those of all those single things that we looked at. It gives you the latest one, okay, of each and every one of them. So if you should go and use if you want to go do copy and pasting, perhaps you copy from project you built a year ago. So you get to have an outdated code, okay, which is very prone to, I mean, it should make that your project to be vulnerable to a lot of issues and errors. Okay, so that is why you always have to be going by this route. So, and I said there's a second, there's more to the yes, right, or there's another. I mean, there's a sided answer to that yes, right, which I said it could be translated to no. So what I actually mean by that one is the fact that you might be working as a developer for, I mean, in team with another developer site. That is what I'm saying is you might be working collaboratively with other developers on a project. So in that particular scenario, the project might have already been built. That is, you guys are not just getting started. Maybe they just employ you as a Flutter developer in a mobile development company. Okay, so the project is already, I mean, the application is already there. So, but work has to keep on, I mean, keeps on going. Okay. In that case, you know, of course, there's no way you're going to like build the application from scratch. So what you do is that that application will be made available to you on GitHub. You just have to go to GitHub, clone it, and run it in this similar. Though the process is kind of different, but you still have to like work with your terminal or command prompt to have that, to clone that project posted on GitHub into locally into your own place and start working with it. So that is why I said it is kind of like, you know, because you're not creating it from scratch, but then you still have to like get the folder inside your project before you can start working on it. So I hope that answers your question, right? All right, thank you very much. Thank you all for staying for hanging up with me up to this point. So I look forward to see you guys next time. So with that said, I hand the mic over to Mrs. Temi to put an end to the call.
All right, thank you so much, Mr. Rashidi. Thank you for an awesome session. Even though the class not to end. Thank you. We really appreciate it. And thank you so much for answering questions and giving clarity where it was needed. So we'll be wrapping up today's session, today's class. If you have any other questions, please just send it on Slack. Somebody from the class would attend to it, or to be attended to it by one of the instructors. So please just do well to send your questions. Also, let's be reminded about our assignments. It is going to on Friday is the deadline for the submission of assignments. So let's share our assignments. Also, Mr. Rashid will be sharing an assignment with us. Right, Mr. Rashid?
Yeah, I'm with you.
Yeah, I just asked about an assignment. We'll be sharing an assignment with them.
Okay.
or there is no need?
No, there's no need for now because we've not actually achieved the purpose of today's class, which is building our application. It's only
Okay.
then we would have been able to have an assignment here.
Okay, no problem. Thank you very much. So for the newbies in the house, I don't know if we have them on this call. Please do well to go over all of the resources, all the videos on YouTube. You find it there, and then also go through all the pinned messages on Slack. It would help you a lot. So please do that. And kindly read through all the previous messages before you start asking questions on Slack so that you don't get if you don't get responses promptly and that kind of thing. So thank you everyone for joining in today's session. Yes, there's one more thing I want to talk about. For the boot camp and for the internship, we would be having, for the boot camp, we'll be having few people will be split into groups. So we'll be split into groups of front end, back end developers, product designers, and all of that. So the best group that has the best what's called projects would I think more information will be passed across on that later on. But I just need to like inform you that GetLink would be joining our class next week and will be addressing us. So GetLink will be giving us assessments that we will be would need to work on. So every assessment is an opportunity for you to outshine one person or the other in this class. So if you once they share the link via mail, once they send an email to you, please do well to attend to that assessment, and you would be it's just one step in the right direction to ensure that you get an internship and all of that. So yeah, once again, thank you all for joining today's class. Would see you next week. Or if we have any other class during the course of the week, I would inform you. Thank you. Final words, Mr. E or Oluwatosin.
Do your assignment, guys. Do your assignment.
Also, please, can we officially know our class rate? I mean, our cohort captains, because I think it's expedient we do that, right? So, please.
Can we officially know? I didn't get that question.
So I said, can we like, I mean, our
let's bring it inside the frame, but let's make it afraid.
Is it just me?
No, it's not just you. We can't hear him.
Oh wow. There's one other person that is supposed to be person not here. All right.
Kevin, I think yes, I think her timeline doesn't really help. I think she's 2 hours or so ahead of us, and so when it goes late into the night, she can't really stay for. Yeah.
Okay. All right, that explains it. So good night, everybody. Have a good night's rest and sleep well. Sleep tight. Bye.
All right. Bye. Risha, if you have a question.
Okay. Concerning the the internship people, I think I received an email about UI UX. I don't know.
Yeah,
Please
product
just
design.
ignore.
So ignore it.
Okay.